Have you ever wondered what it truly means to fall in love, not just with someone else, but with life itself? What if I told you that the way a man falls in love could reveal more about his deepest fears, his hidden desires, and his untapped potential than you could ever imagine? This isn't about fairy tales or surface level romance. It's about understanding the powerful psychological forces that shape us, that make us vulnerable, that push us to grow, to become more than we were yesterday. And the most surprising part? The way a man falls in love can ignite his transformation in ways that most never even consider. Love, real love, isn't just an emotion. It's a journey. A force that pulls a man out of his comfort zone and into the unknown. You see, men are often taught to hold back, to guard their hearts, to be strong and unshakable. They wear armor, not to protect others, but to protect themselves from being seen, from being exposed. But here's the thing. True love doesn't begin until that armor is shed, until he's willing to let his guard down, to risk everything. And that moment of vulnerability, that's where everything changes. That's where the magic happens. You're probably asking yourself, why should you care about how a man falls in love? What's the connection to your life, to your own journey? Here's the reason. Because understanding this process isn't just about men. It's about you. It's about understanding how love can awaken parts of you that you never knew existed, how it can challenge you, reshape you, and ultimately push you toward the best version of yourself. Love is a force for transformation, and it's within each of us waiting to be awakened. But to truly understand love, we need to peel back the layers. We need to start with something fundamental, something that most people never consider. The first step in a man's journey toward love isn't his attraction to a woman's beauty or her kindness or even her intelligence. It's not the things she does for him or the way she makes him feel in the moment. The first step in a man's journey toward love is vulnerability. Yes, vulnerability. It's not a weakness, but the opposite. It's the courage to face his own fears, to expose his deepest wounds, and to let someone in. You see, men are often taught to hide their emotions. From a young age, they're conditioned to believe that showing weakness is a failure, that exposing their hearts is a sign of fragility. But here's the truth. A man doesn't fall in love until he's able to open up, until he's willing to be raw, to be real. And when he finds someone who sees him, truly sees him, beyond the armor, beyond the walls, that's when love takes root. But this is no easy task. It takes time, patience, and trust, things that are often in short supply. A man's love isn't something he gives away lightly. It's earned through shared experiences, through moments of connection that go deeper than surface-level attraction. It's built through the quiet conversations, the unspoken moments, the times when he feels truly seen and accepted for who he is, not for who he's trying to be. This is where the magic happens. This is where the man begins to fall in love, not just with her, but with the idea of vulnerability itself. Because once he lets down his guard, once he opens up his heart to the possibility of real connection, something shifts. He begins to see himself in a new light. He begins to understand that love is not about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about embracing your flaws, your fears, your doubts, and still showing up, still being present, still daring to love despite it all. And that's when the transformation begins. When a man learns to love in this way, he doesn't just fall for someone else. He falls for himself. He falls for the man he could become, the man who is brave enough to face his fears, who is strong enough to embrace his vulnerability, and who is wise enough to understand that love isn't something you can control. It's something that happens when you stop fighting it, when you allow yourself to be swept away in its powerful current. You might be thinking, but how does this apply to me? The truth is, understanding how men fall in love, how they open themselves up, how they transform, can teach you something invaluable. It can teach you how to fall in love with your own life, how to open your heart to new possibilities, how to embrace vulnerability as a source of strength, not weakness. The moment a man embraces love for what it truly is, not what society tells him it should be, he steps into a new chapter of his life, and so can you. So stick with this, because this journey into the heart of love isn't just about understanding men. It's about unlocking something inside you, a deeper connection to yourself, a higher purpose, and a love that doesn't just exist in a relationship, but in everything you do. The question isn't whether men fall in love. It's whether you're ready to understand how that love can change everything. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll see love and yourself in a completely new light. When a man finally opens up, when he decides to lower the walls he's spent years building, something profound shifts within him. It's as if a door opens to a part of himself he's kept locked away, a part he didn't even know needed to be seen. But here's the paradox. He doesn't just need to be seen by her. He needs to be seen by himself. He needs to recognize that love, in its deepest form, isn't just about giving. It's about receiving, too. Receiving not just affection or validation, but the recognition of his worth. And when that recognition comes, when a woman sees him for all that he is, it strikes him in a way nothing else ever will. It pulls him into something bigger than himself. This is where respect comes in, not as something that's earned through grand gestures, but as something that's deeply rooted in the core of who a man is. Respect isn't just an outward acknowledgement. It's the internal recognition that the man standing before you has value beyond his achievements, beyond his failures, beyond the masks he wears. This is one of the most powerful psychological triggers when it comes to love. Men often spend their lives trying to prove their worth to the world, to their peers, and to themselves. But when they fall in love, they yearn for someone who sees past all of that. Someone who looks at them and respects them for who they truly are, even in their rawest form. Respect is a language men understand. It's the signal that they are enough, just as they are. It's the feeling that they don't have to pretend to be someone else to earn your affection. When a man feels respected, he feels empowered. And that empowerment, that deep sense of self-worth, is what propels him into love. It frees him from the chains of self-doubt, from the fear that he's not enough, because when respect is given, it affirms something deep inside him, that he is worthy of being loved. But here's where it gets even more powerful. Respect, when combined with vulnerability, creates an almost unbreakable bond. Vulnerability without respect can leave a man feeling exposed and weak, unsure if his openness will be met with acceptance or judgment. But when respect is present, that vulnerability becomes a bridge between two people, a place where they can connect on a deeper level. A man's love for you grows not because of what you say or do, but because you recognize the silent strength in him. You don't need to constantly praise him. It's the quiet recognition of his inner struggles, his fears, and his unspoken desires that make him feel valued. This is where the emotional landscape of love begins to take shape. It's not about grand romantic gestures. It's not about words or promises that can easily be broken. It's about the small, consistent moments of connection, the subtle acts of validation that tell a man, I see you, I honor you, I respect you. These moments don't have to be loud or dramatic. They just need to be real. And they go deep, deeper than words, deeper than any external achievement. They speak to something inside him that yearns for acceptance, for understanding, for a safe space where he can truly be himself. And yet, even as respect is given, men often find themselves conflicted. They carry with them a deep-rooted desire to protect, often not just the people they love, but the love itself. When a man falls in love, it's not just about sharing his life with you. It's about protecting what's been created between you. This desire to protect is deeply embedded in a man's psyche. It's not always logical. It's not always conscious, but it's powerful. It's the instinct that kicks in when he feels something precious, something worth fighting for. This drive to protect isn't about control or dominance. It's about a man's need to safeguard what he holds dear. And when a man feels protective of someone, especially the woman he loves, it becomes a catalyst for deeper emotional commitment. It creates an unspoken understanding that this relationship is worth more than his individual freedom, more than his pride. He is willing to protect it even at the cost of his own comfort, because in that protection, in that willingness to sacrifice, he finds a deeper meaning in love. Love transforms him. It awakens something powerful inside him, a purpose beyond himself. And this is where love truly begins to change a man, when he sees that love isn't just about receiving, it's about giving. It's about something bigger than his own needs, something bigger than his own desires. He begins to understand that love is not only a feeling, it's an action, a series of choices made every day. When a man decides to protect, to respect, to be vulnerable, he's making a choice to invest in something greater than himself. He's choosing to grow, to evolve, to become better because of the love he shares. But this isn't a one-way street. It's the mutual exchange of respect, protection, and vulnerability that strengthens the bond. A man won't fully commit until he feels that the woman he loves is equally invested in his growth, in his well-being, in the relationship itself. The greatest motivator for a man to fully open up, to fully surrender to love, is the feeling that it's a shared journey, that both of them are in it together, pushing each other toward greatness, toward becoming the best versions of themselves. And so the foundation of love is laid not just in moments of passion, but in the quiet, everyday decisions that build trust, respect, and emotional safety. It's not just the big declarations of love, it's the small, consistent acts that remind a man that he is loved, that he is enough, and that the love he shares is worth fighting for. And when he feels that, when he truly understands it, something inside him shifts. He doesn't just fall in love with her. He falls in love with the possibility of who he can become when he dares to love fully, when he dares to be vulnerable, and when he dares to see himself not just as a man, but as someone worthy of the deepest kind of love. This is the power of love, not just to change one person, but to elevate two. It is ultimately what makes us stronger, wiser, and more capable than we ever believed we could be. As this journey unfolds, you begin to see that love is not just an experience. It's a force that propels both people forward. It's a mutual engine of growth, a partnership that demands the best of both. And yet, even with all the vulnerability, trust, respect, and protection that love brings, there is still one more crucial element that shifts everything. The greatest transformation a man undergoes when he falls in love comes not from the way he's seen by the woman he loves, but from the way he sees himself through her eyes. When a man falls in love, he doesn't just find someone to share his life with. He discovers parts of himself that were hidden in the shadows. He begins to understand his strengths, his weaknesses, and the limitless potential he holds. Love gives him the courage to confront his own limitations, to push past the fears and self-doubts that have been holding him back for so long. This is the profound truth. Love, at its core, challenges a man to become more than what he thought possible. In the presence of love, a man no longer sees himself as just an individual struggling to survive in a world that constantly demands more from him. Instead, he begins to see himself as part of something greater. He starts to see the purpose behind his actions, the impact he can have not just on the woman he loves, but on the world around him. The realization that love isn't just an emotional bond, is a catalyst for personal transformation, is what ignites his drive. And this drive becomes unstoppable. He may not know it at first, but the moment he opens his heart to love is the moment he begins to reframe his entire existence. Love forces him to look deeper, to reflect on his life in ways he never considered. It sparks a sense of responsibility, not only to the person he loves, but to himself. He starts to ask himself tough questions, questions that demand answers, that force him to confront the man he is and the man he wants to become. And in that process, he uncovers his true potential. But there's a catch. A man can only embrace this transformation if he is willing to do the hard work. Love doesn't magically fix everything. It doesn't erase past mistakes or make everything easy. What love does is present an opportunity, a chance to step into a higher version of oneself. But it's a choice. He must choose to step into the challenge. He must choose to confront his fears, to grow beyond his comfort zones, and to become the man who is worthy of the love he has found. This is where the concept of a shared purpose becomes crucial. Love, when aligned with a common goal, pushes both people towards something greater than the sum of their parts. For a man, falling in love is not just about an emotional connection. It's about the vision of what the relationship can become, what they can build together. This shared purpose provides a sense of direction. It gives him a reason to strive, to become better, not just for himself, but for the partnership they're creating. When a man is driven by this shared vision, it fuels him in ways that nothing else can. He no longer feels stagnant, no longer trapped in the cycle of his own limitations. He begins to see the future with new eyes, eyes that are focused on growth, on progress, on the legacy he wants to leave behind. The woman he loves becomes not just his partner, but his inspiration, the person who helps him unlock the very best version of himself. And here's the beautiful truth about this dynamic. As the man begins to grow, so does the love between them. Love becomes a mutual investment, one that deepens with each challenge they face, with each success they achieve. The relationship itself becomes a reflection of their combined growth. They learn together, evolve together, and ultimately thrive together. This is why so many men, when they fall in love, experience an internal shift. They start to see themselves differently, not as isolated, struggling individuals, but as part of a team, as someone whose worth is reflected in the strength of their connection. Love gives them a vision that pulls them forward, a vision that is anchored not just in emotion, but in purpose, in action, in the unwavering commitment to grow alongside the person they love. In this way, love becomes not just an emotion, but a driving force. It shifts a man's mindset from mere survival to thriving, from existing to truly living. It demands that he step up, that he face his fears, that he tackle the very things that once seemed impossible. And the reward? The reward is a sense of fulfillment, a sense of power that comes from knowing he is becoming the man he was always meant to be, that he is walking a path of transformation that is fueled by love, not fear. This isn't just a theory. This is the reality that countless men have experienced throughout history. They fall in love, and it transforms them. It doesn't make them perfect. It doesn't erase their flaws. But it gives them the courage to embrace those flaws and turn them into strengths. It challenges them to take responsibility for their own growth and to use the love they have as a force for positive change. The question now isn't whether or not love can change a man. It's whether or not he will embrace the change. Will he take the lessons that love offers and use them to elevate himself to new heights? Will he look at love not just as a feeling, but as an opportunity to grow, to become more than he ever imagined? The answer lies within him, in his ability to step into the challenge of love with an open heart, an open mind, and an unshakable belief in his own potential. Because when a man falls in love, he's not just falling for the person he loves, he's falling for the best version of himself. As the man continues this journey of love and transformation, one thing becomes clear. Love is not a passive experience. It is active, it is demanding, and it is relentless in its call for growth. The deeper he falls in love, the more he must confront the parts of himself that he has long ignored, buried, or avoided. Love doesn't let him stay the same. It forces him to confront his shadows, the parts of his psyche that he might not even know existed. And this, perhaps, is the most profound and terrifying aspect of love. It exposes the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are. But here's where the magic happens. Once a man is willing to face those parts of himself, once he chooses to step into that discomfort, he unlocks his full potential. The process isn't easy. It's filled with doubts, fears, and moments of questioning everything he thought he knew about himself. But it's through this very process that he evolves. It's the fire of transformation, the heat that forges something greater, something more resilient. It's in these moments of challenge, of facing what is darkest inside him, that he discovers just how strong, capable, and full of purpose he truly is. The challenge is that, for many men, love pushes them to take risks they never thought they'd take, to be vulnerable in ways they never thought possible. They might have lived most of their lives keeping parts of themselves hidden, protected, or locked away for fear of rejection. But in love, they can't stay hidden. They can't live in the shadows anymore. The very nature of love forces them to bring those parts to the surface, to face their fears head on, and to allow another person to see them for who they truly are. It is in this vulnerability, this willingness to expose the parts of himself that he once thought weak, that he begins to truly grow. Love calls him to be brave in ways he has never been before. And with that bravery comes a deep sense of strength. Strength that comes not from avoiding pain or fear, but from confronting it. There is a power in facing your demons, in embracing your flaws, and in using those very things as the fuel to drive you forward. This is where the emotional depth of love truly shows itself. A man doesn't just fall in love with the other person. He falls in love with the process of becoming more than he thought he could be, more than he ever imagined himself becoming. Love is a mirror. It shows him who he is, but more importantly, it shows him who he can be. It challenges him to become someone worthy of the love he is receiving, to step into a version of himself that is capable of not only receiving love, but of giving it at its highest level. In the process of loving another, he learns to love himself in ways he never thought possible. This self-love isn't about vanity or narcissism. It's about recognizing his inherent worth, not just in the eyes of others, but in his own eyes. It's about standing in the truth of who he is with all his imperfections and still believing that he deserves love, respect, and greatness. Love demands this from him, not just for his partner, but for himself. It asks him to reach for something higher, something greater than what he's known. And when he does, he opens himself up to a whole new world of possibilities. And yet, this transformation is not something that happens in a vacuum. It requires support. It requires someone who believes in him even when he doesn't believe in himself. This is the beauty of a relationship rooted in genuine love. It becomes a two-way street of empowerment. As the man faces his deepest fears and challenges, his partner stands beside him, not to carry him, but to encourage him, to push him to hold the vision of his potential when he cannot see it for himself. This mutual support, this shared journey, is what makes love so powerful. It becomes the force that lifts them both higher. But the critical thing to understand is that love doesn't just exist in the easy moments. It doesn't just shine in the times of happiness or contentment. Love reveals its true power in the struggles, in the times of hardship, when everything feels uncertain and fragile. It's in these moments that the depth of a man's commitment to love is truly tested. And it's in these moments, when he stands beside the one he loves despite the difficulties, that he discovers a deeper sense of purpose, a deeper sense of himself. This is where the true strength of love lies, not in its ability to make life perfect, but in its ability to help you navigate life's imperfections. It's not about escaping pain, but about facing it together with courage and determination. Love asks us to rise above the chaos, to find meaning in the struggle, and to emerge stronger on the other side. And when a man rises to meet these challenges, when he steps into the discomfort of growth, he becomes a force in his own life, unstoppable, unwavering, and deeply connected to his sense of purpose. As this transformation continues, a critical moment comes when a man faces the undeniable truth. Love demands more than just emotional commitment. It demands action. True love is not passive, not something you simply fall into and hope it works. Love is something you build, something you nurture, something you fight for. And this is where most men, in their deepest moments of vulnerability, struggle. They want to love. They want to give. They want to be the man their partner deserves. But they often forget one fundamental thing. Love requires the courage to act, especially when it's hard, when it's uncomfortable, and when it asks you to confront parts of yourself that you'd rather leave untouched. The act of choosing love, choosing commitment, choosing to be present even when it's hard, requires a man to be deliberate in his actions. He must learn to take responsibility, not just for the good moments, but for the struggles, for the moments of silence, for the times when the world feels heavy, when emotions run high, and when communication seems impossible. In those moments, a man's ability to act with love, to make the choice to move forward, to put his ego aside and show up with integrity, becomes the greatest testament to his character. A man in love doesn't just think about his partner's needs, he anticipates them. He doesn't just wait for things to happen, he makes things happen. He doesn't shy away from the hard work. It becomes the fuel that drives him, that propels him forward. And this work doesn't just apply to his relationship, it applies to his life as a whole. When a man chooses love, he chooses to be better, to grow, and to push the boundaries of what he believes is possible. Love isn't a passive emotion. It's an active force that demands him to rise and become more than he was yesterday. But it's important to understand that this isn't about perfection. Love doesn't demand perfection from him. It demands authenticity, commitment, and resilience. It demands that he show up, even when he's exhausted, even when he's afraid, and even when he feels like he's not enough. This is where a man discovers his true power, not in the moments of success, but in the moments when he keeps going, when he keeps pushing, when he doesn't let fear or doubt hold him back. In those moments, he learns to trust not only his partner, but himself. He learns to trust that no matter the obstacle, he has the strength to face it head on with love guiding the way. Every challenge that arises in the relationship becomes an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to deepen the bond, and an opportunity to prove to both himself and his partner that love is something he will fight for no matter what. The struggles don't weaken him, they fortify him. The trials they face together become the foundation for a love that is unshakable because it's built on mutual respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to something greater than both of them. And as a man rises to meet these challenges, something profound happens. He begins to see the power of consistency. It's not the grand gestures that create lasting love. It's the small, consistent actions that add up over time. It's in the daily choices to show up, to support, to listen, and to love even when it's difficult. The real test of a man's love comes in his ability to stay consistent, to keep investing, to keep learning, and to keep evolving no matter what the external circumstances may be. This is the power of love. It is the engine that drives continuous improvement, continuous growth, and the relentless pursuit of becoming the best version of yourself. Love forces you to look beyond the surface, beyond the fleeting moments of passion, and to see the deeper purpose behind everything. It asks you to be present, to be real, and to constantly choose to grow alongside the person you love. But by standing firm, offering reassurance, and showing up every single day. But love doesn't just transform the relationship, it transforms the man. The act of loving deeply, of being fully present for someone else, forces him to confront his own beliefs, his own insecurities, and his own fears. Love shines a light on the parts of himself that he has kept hidden or neglected. It forces him to grow in ways he never anticipated. It asks him to let go of the need to control, to surrender the ego, and to embrace a deeper understanding of what it means to truly be a partner. In loving another, a man learns to love himself more deeply. This isn't about ego or self-centeredness. It's about understanding his worth, acknowledging his flaws, and choosing to show up as his true self, unashamed and unapologetic. Love forces him to dig deeper into his own soul, to understand what drives him, what scares him, and what makes him come alive. It helps him realize that he is worthy of the love he is giving, that he has the strength and the capacity to not only receive love, but to give it in its purest, most powerful form. As he moves through this journey, the man begins to recognize that love is not just about emotions or fleeting feelings. It's about commitment, consistency, and choice. It's about choosing every single day to show up, to give, to be present, and to grow together. Love is not something that just happens. It's something that is cultivated through effort, attention, and intention. A man who understands this truth sees love as a living, breathing force that requires constant care. But more importantly, he understands that love is not one-sided. It is a two-way street, a partnership that demands both people to invest, to grow, and to support each other. A man doesn't just love his partner, he loves the vision of what they can become together. He sees the potential, not just in the relationship, but in the person they are becoming. This vision is what fuels the fire of love. It's what drives him to keep going, to keep pushing forward even when the road gets tough. It's what makes him see the beauty in every struggle, because he knows that every challenge is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become better, both as individuals and as partners. This is the true beauty of love. In embracing love, a man learns to shed the parts of himself that no longer serve him, the fear, the insecurity, the doubt. He learns to release the past and move forward with strength and purpose. He learns that love isn't about possession or control. It's about freedom. It's about the freedom to be vulnerable, to be real, to be honest, and to show up authentically. In love, a man discovers that true power comes from embracing vulnerability. He learns that the most powerful thing he can do is to be open, to allow himself to be fully seen, fully understood, and fully loved for who he truly is. As he continues to walk this path of love, he understands that it's not about perfection. Love is not about finding someone who is flawless, but about finding someone who is willing to walk the imperfect, messy, beautiful path of life together. It's about finding someone who is committed to growth, to evolution, and to creating a life together that is meaningful and full of purpose. In this, the man finds fulfillment, not just in the love he gives, but in the love he receives. He becomes a better man because of it. And in turn, he helps his partner become a better version of themselves. Through love, a man doesn't just experience the beauty of connection. He experiences the beauty of transformation. He learns to push beyond his limits, to rise above his fears, and to reach for something greater than himself. And in this pursuit, he discovers the incredible power of love to change everything, not just his relationship, but his life. In the end, love is not just an emotion, it's the force that drives him to become the person he was always meant to be. In this profound transformation, the man who loves deeply comes to understand that love isn't just a feeling, it's a constant evolution, a daily decision to grow and to give. As he learns to love, he doesn't just learn about the other person, he learns about himself. He learns to confront his fears, his insecurities, and his limitations. Every moment in a relationship is an opportunity to push beyond his comfort zone, to face what he's been avoiding, and to become the man he knows he has the potential to be. This process isn't easy. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often painful. But it is in this discomfort that he finds his true strength. The man who is willing to love in this way becomes someone who isn't afraid to face challenges, to step up when the stakes are high, and to become the best version of himself for the one he loves. This shift in perspective, this understanding that love is about embracing vulnerability and authenticity, becomes the foundation for a relationship that lasts. The man who loves deeply doesn't just fight for the relationship during the easy times. He fights for it when things are difficult, when communication breaks down, when misunderstandings arise, or when the pressure of life feels overwhelming. He knows that love is not just about keeping things smooth. It's about weathering the storms together. It's about showing up even when the future feels uncertain, about choosing to fight for the connection even when the world feels like it's trying to tear it apart. In those challenging moments, when the relationship feels strained, when doubts and insecurities creep in, the man who truly understands love doesn't retreat. He doesn't run away from the discomfort. He leans in. He uses those moments as opportunities to grow, to deepen his understanding of himself, his partner, and what truly matters. And it is during these trials that the true strength of love is revealed. Love is not the absence of struggle. It is the willingness to face the struggle together, to learn from it, and to emerge stronger on the other side. It is also in these moments of challenge that the man who loves deeply shows the true depth of his commitment. It's easy to love when things are easy. It's easy to give when the world is calm and peaceful. But the real measure of a man's love is how he shows up when life is hard, when he feels depleted, and when everything inside him is screaming to give up. He chooses to rise, to be the rock, to provide stability, and to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Through this, he realizes that love is about far more than just keeping things afloat. It is about continually creating something beautiful together, even when the waves of life threaten to pull them under. It's about looking at his partner not just in their best moments, but also in their worst, and choosing to stay. It's about embracing each other's flaws, weaknesses, and imperfections, knowing that these are the very things that make them human. Love becomes a canvas where both partners paint their struggles, their victories, their dreams, and their fears together. And in this, love becomes a powerful force that drives the man forward, not just for the sake of the relationship, but for his own personal growth. Each day, each choice, each moment of vulnerability stretches him, forces him to become more than he was the day before. He no longer runs from his fears or avoids his insecurities. He faces them head on because he knows that only through confronting them does he gain the power to change, to evolve, and to live a life that is truly fulfilling. Love at its core is not just about connection. It is about growth. And the man who loves deeply understands this. He knows that every challenge, every sacrifice, every moment of uncertainty is not a burden to bear, but a stepping stone towards something greater. It is in the act of loving that he discovers his true potential, the strength, the courage, the resilience, and the character he didn't even know he possessed. Ultimately, the man who embraces this journey of love discovers that love is not just a feeling or an emotion. It is the key to unlocking his highest self. It is the force that propels him forward, that drives him to become the man he was always meant to be. In loving another person, he finds the truest expression of his own humanity, and in that process, he becomes something greater than he ever thought possible, both for himself and for the one he loves. The man who truly loves becomes a force of nature, a man who doesn't just survive life, but who thrives in it, constantly evolving, constantly growing, and constantly pushing the boundaries of what he can achieve. He is no longer just a man in a relationship. He is a man on a mission to become the best version of himself and to create a life that is rich with meaning, love, and purpose. The truth is, a man who loves deeply will eventually face a choice, whether to continue growing with his partner or to remain stagnant in the relationship. Love is not static. It's a living, breathing force that requires constant care and effort. The temptation to settle into a comfortable, predictable routine can be strong, but this is where the true power of love shows itself. It's easy to be comfortable, to rest on the laurels of past efforts, and expect the love to take care of itself. But real love, the kind that transforms lives and makes a real impact, demands more. It asks for continual growth, not just individually, but as a unit. Love asks him to rise to the occasion, to challenge himself, and to create something meaningful that continues to evolve. The man who loves truly understands that growth isn't just about finding ways to improve himself or his partner. It's about improving the relationship itself. It's about actively creating a space where both people can flourish, where their individual strengths and weaknesses complement each other, and where the love they share serves as a catalyst for them to become the best versions of themselves. In this process, the bond strengthens, and the relationship becomes a powerful force that drives both people forward together. Love challenges him to look beyond surface-level affection, to dive deeper into what really makes a relationship thrive. It's not about just being in love. It's about building a relationship that lasts, one that is anchored in trust, mutual respect, and a shared vision of the future. And this requires intentional effort. It's about asking the tough questions, having difficult conversations, and continually learning about each other, about the relationship, and about themselves. It's about constantly seeking out ways to deepen the connection and enrich the bond they share. The real test comes when both partners face inevitable challenges, when life gets in the way, when external pressures mount, when personal struggles arise. These are the moments when love is truly tested. The man who loves deeply doesn't shy away from these challenges. He meets them head on. He understands that love isn't just about riding the highs. It's about sticking together through the lows. It's about holding the other person up when they are at their weakest and knowing that they will do the same for him when he needs it most. And in doing this, he becomes more than just a partner. He becomes a leader. A man who understands the depth of love knows that true leadership in a relationship isn't about control or dominance. It's about guidance, support, and vision. He leads by example. He shows what it means to be resilient, to be patient, and to be loving, even when it feels hard. He doesn't lead with his words. He leads with his actions. He shows his partner that no matter what comes their way, they will always have each other's backs. He becomes the rock in their storm, the calm in their chaos, and the driving force that propels the relationship forward. In this way, love becomes a shared mission, a journey that is greater than the sum of its parts. The man who commits fully to love understands that it's not about him alone. It's about the two of them, together, navigating the ups and downs of life, learning, growing, and building something greater than what they could achieve on their own. Love teaches him that his life is no longer just about his own dreams and aspirations. It's about their dreams, their vision for the future, and how they will work together to make those dreams a reality. This shift in perspective is liberating. It frees him from the constant pursuit of self-interest and helps him realize that fulfillment doesn't come from personal success alone. It comes from shared success. True joy comes not from what he can accomplish by himself, but from what they can accomplish together. The partnership becomes a force greater than what either could do alone. And this is where real power lies. The power of shared commitment, shared responsibility, and shared vision. It's in the willingness to say, I will not give up on us. I will not settle for anything less than our fullest potential, both individually and as a team. The man who loves deeply does not give in to complacency. He rises above it. He continually seeks ways to better himself, to better the relationship, and to move forward with his partner, hand in hand, ready to tackle whatever life throws their way. In this journey of love, the man who embraces it fully begins to understand that love is not something that simply happens. It is something he actively chooses day after day, moment after moment. Love isn't passive. It's a commitment, a daily practice that requires effort, intention, and constant mindfulness. He learns that love isn't about the grand gestures or the fleeting moments of passion. It's about the small, consistent actions, the quiet moments of support, and the strength of character shown in the hardest times. These are the moments that truly define the depth of love, the moments that reveal what it means to truly care for another person. What makes this type of love powerful is its capacity to evolve. Love isn't confined to a specific phase or experience. It is fluid, growing and shifting with time. The man who understands love in this way knows that it doesn't end with the initial spark of attraction. It matures. It becomes more complex, more profound. He begins to appreciate the subtleties of the relationship, the quiet moments of connection. He starts to understand that true love is not about perfection. It's about accepting imperfection with grace. It's about learning to love not just the good parts of someone, but also the flawed and messy pieces that make them whole. In this transformation, he realizes that love also calls for patience. It asks him to give the relationship time to grow, to nurture it with consistent care, and to have the strength to weather the storms without losing sight of the end goal. The man who loves deeply isn't someone who expects immediate results. He knows that the most meaningful relationships are those that are built over time, that evolve through effort, communication, and mutual respect. It's not about rushing to a destination. It's about walking the path together, side by side, knowing that every step forward, no matter how small, is bringing them closer to something greater. The path to true love requires selflessness. This doesn't mean losing himself or sacrificing his own needs, but it means putting the relationship above ego, putting the other person's needs before his own in moments that require it. This selflessness creates a dynamic where both partners are committed to each other's growth. They both understand that a relationship doesn't work if one person is always giving and the other is always taking. It's about reciprocity, about mutual effort, about lifting each other up when the weight of life becomes too heavy. The man who truly loves realizes that the relationship is a two-way street. It's about giving, receiving, and finding a balance that supports both partners equally. As the relationship deepens, the man's perspective shifts. He no longer sees love as something that he needs to control or hold on to desperately. Instead, he sees it as something that is nourished through freedom. True love doesn't bind, it empowers. It gives space for both partners to grow and evolve as individuals while remaining connected by a shared bond. He understands that love isn't about possession. It's about mutual respect, admiration, and the freedom to be who they are, both as individuals and as partners. This realization is freeing. It gives him the confidence to allow both himself and his partner to evolve, to change, and to follow their own paths, knowing that their love is strong enough to withstand the shifts that life brings. In this deepening understanding, the man who loves begins to recognize that the greatest act of love is not about constantly seeking validation or approval from his partner. It's about offering it freely. He learns that real love isn't about needing someone to complete him. It's about choosing to love someone despite their flaws, accepting them as they are, and encouraging them to become the best version of themselves. This love is unconditional. It's not about a transaction, a give and take where one person always expects something in return. It's about being there for the other person, no matter the circumstances. It's about loving them not just when they are at their best, but especially when they are at their worst. Real love allows room for mistakes, for growth, and for both partners to fall short, knowing that the foundation they've built is strong enough to withstand those moments. And it is in this acceptance that he finds peace. The man who loves deeply is no longer weighed down by unrealistic expectations, by the pressure of needing to be perfect, or by the fear of failure. He understands that love is about creating a safe space where both people can be their true selves without fear of judgment or rejection. This creates a profound sense of security in the relationship, an unspoken understanding that no matter what happens, they will stand by each other. As this bond strengthens, so too does his commitment to his own growth. Love challenges him to become the best version of himself, not just for his partner, but for himself. He learns that the strength of the relationship comes from the strength of the individuals within it. The man who loves deeply knows that his own growth is just as important as the growth of the relationship. He commits to continuously improving, to learning from his mistakes, and to becoming someone who is worthy of the love he has chosen to give. He realizes that love is not something he can take for granted. It is something he must nurture, protect, and cherish. Man, he becomes a force of nature. The kind of love he chooses to give transforms him into someone who operates from a place of purpose, clarity, and inner strength. It's not just about the affection he feels for his partner. It's about the way love reshapes his entire worldview. But love doesn't only challenge him emotionally. It demands growth in every area of his life. It challenges him to step up, to take responsibility, not just for his own actions, but for the relationship as a whole. The man who loves deeply understands that love is not a passive experience. It is an active choice that requires ongoing effort. He knows that the relationship is a mirror, reflecting both the beauty and the flaws within him. Love calls him to rise above his weaknesses, to overcome his fears, and to commit to becoming the best version of himself, not just for his partner, but for the relationship as a whole. This is the true power of love. It transforms him by forcing him to confront the parts of himself he would rather avoid. As he evolves, he also begins to see the world through a new lens. He starts to recognize that love isn't just something that exists between two people. It is the force that shapes the world around them. Love connects him to a deeper sense of purpose. It fuels his ambition and drives him to achieve greatness, not just for himself, but for those he loves. He understands that true success isn't about personal accolades or individual achievement. It's about what he can build with his partner, what they can create together, and how they can contribute to the world. Love empowers him to lead by example, to show others what is possible when two people are committed to each other's growth and success. Love isn't just about romantic gestures or fleeting moments of passion. It's about a commitment to a shared vision, to a future where both partners are empowered to become their best selves. It's about understanding that in love, there is no room for selfishness or complacency. There is only room for growth, for the constant pursuit of something greater than what they were before. And this is the shift that the man who loves deeply understands. The shift from personal desire to shared purpose. This shift in perspective can be a powerful catalyst for change, not just within the relationship, but within every area of his life. It's a reminder that true greatness doesn't come from selfish ambition. It comes from a willingness to sacrifice, to give, and to serve others. And in the process, he discovers that the more he gives to his partner, the more he receives in return. This reciprocal dynamic creates a bond that is unbreakable. A bond that transcends the highs and lows of life. It's a bond built on respect, trust, and mutual growth, one that stands the test of time. Through love, he comes to understand that there are no shortcuts to true happiness. It's not found in instant gratification or superficial connections. True happiness is found in the deep, lasting bonds that are built over time through shared experiences, challenges, and triumphs. He begins to recognize that the greatest gift he can give himself is the willingness to invest in love, to put in the effort to nurture the relationship, to create something that will last beyond the fleeting moments of life. This realization pushes him to become more intentional in all aspects of his life. He begins to recognize that love is not just a feeling, it's an action. It's something that requires consistent effort, even when it's difficult, even when it feels like the world is pulling them apart. Love asks him to keep showing up, to keep putting in the work, and to never give up on the relationship. In doing so, he becomes a man of character, of strength, and of unwavering commitment. Through this commitment, he becomes something greater than he ever thought possible. He becomes the embodiment of the very love he gives, a testament to the transformative power of deep, authentic connection. As he continues to evolve, he not only becomes a better man for himself, but for his partner, for the relationship, and for the world around him. Love, in its purest form, is not just about the bond between two people. It is the force that drives them to become the best versions of themselves and to create a life that is truly extraordinary together. In this journey, love shapes not only the relationship, but also the individual. The man who understands love's true power begins to realize that he is capable of far more than he ever imagined. It's as if love unlocks something deep within him, a potential he didn't know existed. It drives him to become better, to achieve greatness in every area of his life, not just in his relationship, but in his career, his friendships, and his personal growth. Love, when it is genuine and deep, creates a ripple effect that propels him forward, pushing him beyond his limits and beyond what he thought was possible. The man who falls deeply in love is not just concerned with himself anymore. His focus shifts from the small, often fleeting desires of the ego to the greater needs of those he loves. Love teaches him sacrifice, not in a way that diminishes his own needs, but in a way that enriches his life. He learns that true fulfillment comes from giving, from serving, and from elevating others. It's in these moments of giving that he experiences the deepest satisfaction. This doesn't mean he becomes self-sacrificing to the point of neglecting his own well-being. On the contrary, he understands that love is not about diminishing himself for others, but rather about becoming the best version of himself so that he can offer his best to those around him. Through love, he becomes a magnet for abundance. He begins to recognize that love isn't just something that brings him joy. It's something that opens doors, that brings opportunities, and that allows him to become a force for good in the world. The man who loves deeply radiates confidence, not because of anything he possesses materially, but because of the depth of his connection with others. His relationships are grounded in respect, trust, and genuine care. People are drawn to him because they see the power of love in his actions, in the way he treats others, and in the way he continually strives to improve himself. Love becomes his fuel, his motivation, and his path to greatness. He also begins to see that love is not a fleeting feeling. It's a constant state of being. Love is not something that comes and goes, not something that is dependent on the circumstances. It is a choice. And he understands that in every moment, he has the power to choose love, whether in the small, everyday interactions or in the most challenging of situations. Love requires intentionality. It requires the choice to show up, even when it's hard, to remain committed, even when the world around him seems uncertain. And this commitment, this resolve, is what ultimately transforms him into someone capable of extraordinary things. But this journey is not without its challenges. Love, in its purest form, is not always easy. It will test him in ways he never anticipated. There will be times when the path feels unclear, when the bond feels strained, and when the emotional weight seems unbearable. These are the moments that define him. It's in these moments that he has the opportunity to rise, to show his true character, and to prove to himself that his love is unwavering. In the face of adversity, he learns that love is not about perfection, it's about resilience. It's about weathering the storms together, supporting one another through the hardest times, and never giving up on what they've built. Through these trials, he becomes stronger, more resilient. He learns that love isn't just about enjoying the good times, it's about standing together during the bad times. It's about offering support when the world feels heavy, about being a pillar of strength when the other person is faltering. And it is in these moments of vulnerability that the relationship deepens, because it is then that both partners learn to trust each other fully, to lean on each other without fear of judgment or rejection. This deep trust, this unspoken connection, is what creates the foundation for a relationship that is built to last. The strength of this love transforms him in ways that ripple out into every corner of his life. In his work, he no longer operates from a place of fear or self-doubt. He shows up as his most authentic self, driven by purpose and passion. His relationships with colleagues, friends, and even strangers deepen because he understands the power of genuine connection. He knows that love is not confined to romantic relationships. It is the foundation of every meaningful interaction he has. He leads with compassion, humility, and authenticity. And as a result, those around him are inspired to do the same. In his pursuit of greatness, he recognizes that success is not just about what he accomplishes alone. It's about the relationships he builds, the lives he touches, and the legacy he leaves behind. The man who has learned to love deeply understands that the most significant impact he can have on the world is by living authentically, by cultivating love in every area of his life, and by lifting others up along the way. His journey is not about standing at the top alone. It's about rising together with those around him, creating a ripple effect that spreads far beyond what he could have ever imagined. The man who falls deeply in love also learns the value of patience. Love requires time. It's not something that can be rushed or forced. Just as he has taken time to develop and grow, so too does his love grow. It deepens with each passing day, nurtured by shared experiences, challenges, and victories. The beauty of love lies in its ability to evolve, to stretch and grow in unexpected ways. This growth is not always linear. It has its ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of struggle. But in each moment, love offers the opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to become more. The man who understands this is willing to wait, to allow love to unfold in its own time, knowing that the most beautiful things take time to grow. Through this patience, he learns to appreciate the journey, to find meaning in the process, and to embrace every step of the way. The moments of uncertainty become opportunities for growth. The challenges become stepping stones toward greater understanding, and the struggles become tests of resilience and character. He learns that the beauty of love isn't in the destination, but in the way it shapes and molds him along the way. Love teaches him that the journey itself is where the true transformation happens. And in this transformation, he becomes a man who is deeply rooted in his own power. He is no longer swayed by the opinions of others, no longer seeking external validation or approval. He understands that true love is rooted in self-respect, and it is through this self-respect that he can truly love another. The love he gives is not born out of need, but out of choice, a choice to show up as the best version of himself, to be present, and to create something beautiful and meaningful. He knows that love is not something he can control, but something he can nurture and cultivate, something that grows naturally when given the right environment. The power of this love extends beyond his relationship. It becomes a force that drives every aspect of his life. He no longer operates from a place of fear, scarcity, or doubt. He has learned that love is abundant, that there is more than enough for everyone, and that by giving freely, he enriches not only his own life, but the lives of those around him. He becomes a beacon of positivity, of strength, of vulnerability, and of authenticity. His life is a testament to the power of love, the transformative force that has shaped him into the man he is today. As he continues on this path, he understands that love is the ultimate key to unlocking his fullest potential. It's not the only thing that defines him, but it is the force that fuels every other aspect of his life. Love shapes the way he leads, the way he interacts, the way he creates, and the way he serves others. Through love, he discovers his purpose. And through this discovery, he steps into his greatness, not just for himself, but for the world. He understands now that the true measure of a man is not in his achievements, but in his ability to love, to give, to share, to connect, and to uplift those around him. Love is the foundation upon which everything else is built, and it is in love that he finds his deepest strength and most profound sense of purpose. As the man continues this transformative journey, something remarkable begins to happen within him. Love, which once seemed like an external force, now becomes deeply embedded in his internal world. He recognizes that the love he gives is a reflection of the love he has cultivated within himself. And as this love expands, it becomes a shield against the challenges life inevitably throws his way. It gives him the strength to weather storms, to endure hardships, and to rise above adversity with resilience that he never thought possible. He discovers that love is the ultimate source of his power, not just to endure, but to thrive. Love teaches him that true strength doesn't come from suppressing emotions or avoiding vulnerability. It doesn't come from putting on a mask of stoicism or hiding behind walls of self-protection. No, true strength comes from being open, from being able to feel deeply, and from having the courage to be vulnerable in a world that often rewards toughness over tenderness. He learns that by embracing vulnerability, he opens the door to profound connection, not just with his partner, but with everyone he meets. In a world that often celebrates independence, he recognizes that the greatest form of strength is the ability to lean into others, to ask for help, and to share his struggles. This courage to be vulnerable doesn't diminish him, it magnifies his humanity, making him a source of inspiration for those around him. He also begins to realize that love is an ongoing practice. It's not a one-time achievement, it's a continuous journey of growth, effort, and commitment. Every day, he has the choice to act in love, to make decisions that reflect his deepest values, and to show up for those he cares about in ways that are meaningful. The man who has fallen in love understands that relationships, whether with a partner, family, or friends, require nurturing. They require attention, patience, and understanding. He knows that love is a garden that must be tended to. If left neglected, it wilts. But when tended to with care and dedication, it flourishes, growing stronger with each passing day. This knowledge frees him from the pressure of perfection. He no longer believes that love is about getting it right every single time. He realizes that love is about showing up consistently and wholeheartedly, even when the circumstances aren't ideal. It's about being present, even in the moments of discomfort, and being willing to grow together side by side. He understands that love doesn't always look the way he expects it to. It's not always grand gestures or picture-perfect moments. Sometimes, love is found in the quiet, everyday acts of kindness, in the way he listens with full attention, in the way he supports his loved ones when they're struggling, and in the way he chooses to be patient when frustration threatens to take over. He has come to understand that love requires the courage to forgive both others and himself. Love is not about holding on to grudges or letting past wounds dictate the future. It's about releasing the pain, letting go of resentment, and making space for healing. He knows that to move forward in love, he must be willing to let go of the past, to accept imperfections, and to focus on the possibilities that lie ahead. Every act of forgiveness is an act of strength, a conscious decision to free himself from the weight of bitterness and resentment. With each act of forgiveness, he lightens his load, becoming more capable of loving with an open heart without the burden of past hurt weighing him down. As he continues to evolve, he begins to see that love is the greatest teacher. It challenges him to confront his fears, to face his insecurities, and to grow in ways he never imagined. He realizes that love is a mirror that reflects back to him not just the good, but also the parts of himself he may have neglected or suppressed. In the face of love's challenges, he finds the opportunity for self-discovery. He learns more about what drives him, what holds him back, and what truly matters to him. He becomes more in tune with his own emotions, his own needs, and his own desires. This heightened self-awareness not only strengthens his relationship with his partner, but it deepens his relationship with himself. The more he learns, the more he understands that love is not just about seeking fulfillment, but about contributing to something greater than himself. Love requires him to give of himself, to serve, to uplift others. He sees that his purpose is not to be fulfilled by love alone, but to use the love he has cultivated to serve the greater good. This love extends to all areas of his life. He begins to see the world as a place where his love can make a difference, where his actions can have an impact, and where his presence can create positive change. His love drives him to contribute, to lead with integrity, and to inspire others to follow suit. He realizes that true success is not measured by personal achievement, but by the positive influence he has on those around him. He begins to embrace the paradox of love, that to truly love, he must first love himself. As he deepens his relationship with himself, he becomes more capable of loving others. This love is not born out of need or desperation. It's born out of abundance, of a heart that is overflowing with self-acceptance and compassion. He learns that love is not about seeking to complete himself. It's about recognizing that he is already whole, already worthy, and already enough. It is from this place of inner completeness that he is able to love with depth, sincerity, and authenticity. Through this process of learning, growing, and evolving, the man who has fallen in love becomes a force for positive change in the world. His love becomes the foundation of everything he does, shaping the way he leads, the way he works, and the way he connects with others. He understands now that love is the key to unlocking his full potential. It is the force that drives him to become a better man, a better partner, and a better human being. He knows that the love he shares with others is not just a feeling. It is the most powerful tool he has for creating a life of purpose, fulfillment, and lasting impact. And in the end, he understands that love is the most transformative force in the world, and that it has the power to shape not just his own life, but the lives of all those he touches. The man who has learned to love deeply understands something that many never come to realize. Love is not a passive experience. It's not something that simply happens to you. It's a force you actively shape and direct. Every day, love demands action, intention, and accountability. And when he recognizes this, he begins to see that the greatest rewards of love come not from waiting for things to unfold, but from stepping forward, from making choices that strengthen the bond between him and those he loves. In this realization, he starts to understand that love is not simply about receiving. It's about offering, giving, and showing up in ways that sometimes require sacrifice. He knows that the path of love is often not the easiest one to walk, but it's the most meaningful. This is where his personal growth accelerates. He learns to move beyond the selfish pursuit of momentary pleasures and embrace the deeper, more profound joy that comes from commitment. Love is about creating something that endures, something that outlasts fleeting emotions and external circumstances. As he grows, he recognizes that love requires discipline and responsibility. He must choose it day after day in both the smallest and the largest actions. It's not always the grand romantic gestures that define love. Sometimes it's the quiet moments, the unspoken understanding, the patience in the face of frustration, the presence during moments of weakness. These subtle actions build a foundation of trust, respect, and security. When he offers his love in these ways, he provides something far more valuable than transient passion. He offers stability, support, and the kind of love that truly transforms lives. This love is what gives him the strength to overcome his own weaknesses and imperfections. He begins to see love not as a force that requires perfection, but as a force that transforms imperfection. It's in the moments where he falters, where he stumbles, that love becomes an opportunity for growth. When he faces setbacks, love teaches him to rise again. It shows him that mistakes are not failures, but lessons. Lessons that lead him closer to becoming the man he strives to be. Every misstep becomes a stepping stone. Every moment of doubt an invitation to reflect, adjust, and grow stronger. The love he receives and gives is not contingent upon his perfection. It's contingent upon his willingness to continue trying, to continue learning, and to continue showing up, no matter the challenges. This realization propels him to deeper levels of emotional maturity. He understands that true love is not about idealizing a partner or the relationship. It's about accepting both the beautiful and challenging aspects of the journey. It's about building a life with someone that is rooted in honesty, not fantasy. The man who truly loves no longer seeks perfection in others, but instead embraces the richness that comes from the complexity of human beings. He learns to accept his partner's flaws and shortcomings, just as he accepts his own. And this mutual acceptance becomes the bedrock of a lasting, fulfilling relationship. It's in this space of acceptance that love truly flourishes. He learns that love is a reflection of who he is, not just who his partner is. It's through his own actions, his empathy, his patience, his ability to listen, that he shows the world what love can look like. And as he gives more of himself, his love grows exponentially. It ripples out, affecting not only his immediate circle, but also those he encounters in every aspect of his life. Love becomes the lens through which he sees the world, the filter through which he interacts with others. As his capacity to love deepens, his sense of purpose intensifies. He becomes not only a better partner, but a better friend, a better leader, and a better human being. The power of love teaches him that his greatest achievements are not material or external, but are found in the impact he has on others. It's in the ways he lifts up those around him, in the ways he serves and encourages, in the way he creates a space for others to be their truest selves. He understands now that the measure of a man is not in the wealth he accumulates or the power he holds, but in the depth of his character and the richness of his relationships. Love, he realizes, is what gives his life meaning. Without love, everything else is hollow. But perhaps the most profound realization is this, that love is the ultimate form of freedom. When he loves from a place of strength, from a place of wholeness, he is no longer bound by fear, pride, or insecurity. He is free to give without expecting anything in return. He is free to show up for others, not because he wants something, but because he has something to offer. Love frees him from the chains of ego and pride, allowing him to embrace his humanity fully. It teaches him that he is enough. He doesn't need to prove himself. He doesn't need to chase after external validation. In love, he finds the truest form of himself. This journey of love is the journey of becoming. It is the path that leads to the highest version of himself. It requires him to be brave, to face his fears, to confront his weaknesses, and to rise above the noise of the world. The man who falls in love is not just a man who gains affection. He is a man who transforms. He becomes the embodiment of love itself. Strong, resilient, compassionate, and deeply connected to the world around him. And as he continues to walk this path, he understands that the love he gives is the love that will ultimately shape his legacy. It is in this love that he finds his greatest strength, his deepest peace, and his most profound sense of purpose. Through love, he becomes not just a man who falls in love, but a man who lives love every single day, a man who inspires, who uplifts, and who leaves an indelible mark on the world. It's a legacy built not on things, but on the depth of the relationships he nurtures, the lives he touches, and the love he shares. This, he realizes, is the ultimate success. And it is in this love that he will continue to grow, evolve, and become all that he was meant to be. As this journey unfolds, the man who understands love realizes that he has tapped into something far greater than mere attraction. Love is not just the connection between two people. It is the fuel that drives him to become the best version of himself, not just for himself, but for those he cares about. It becomes his guiding principle, his measure of success. Love requires strength, not just physical, but mental and emotional strength. It demands that he cultivate a resilient heart, one that is unafraid of vulnerability, one that knows how to endure when the storms of life come crashing down. This resilience is not born out of an absence of fear, but in spite of it. Love teaches him that fear is natural. It's how he responds to it that defines his character. A man who loves deeply understands that the willingness to be vulnerable is not a weakness, but a powerful source of strength. To love is to expose oneself, to risk rejection, to give of oneself fully, and yet to trust in the power of that love to endure. It is a profound act of courage, one that requires him to face the unknown, to navigate the complexities of human connection, and to stand firm in the face of the uncertainties that arise. In every challenge, every hardship, every moment of doubt, love holds him steady. It reminds him that the difficult times are part of the process, part of the beautiful, messy journey of connection. When he faces hardship, he doesn't back away from love. He embraces it, knowing that it is precisely in these moments that the bond grows stronger. He learns that it is not the smooth and easy days that define love, but the trials, the struggles, the times when the world feels heavy. It's in those moments that he learns how to love with endurance, how to stand beside someone even when the world is trying to pull them apart. Through every challenge, love teaches him the most valuable lesson of all, that it is through giving that we receive. The more he gives of himself, the more he invests in his partner, his family, his friends, the more he finds his own heart expanding. This is the paradox of love. The more he opens his heart, the more it grows. He realizes that love is not a finite resource, it's abundant. It doesn't deplete him, it fills him. When he gives love freely, it flows back to him in ways he never imagined. The depth of his relationships deepens, and his capacity for empathy and understanding expands. His world becomes richer and more fulfilling because love is the energy that propels him forward. This deeper understanding of love changes the way he sees the world. He begins to recognize love in its many forms, in the quiet moments, in the unspoken acts of kindness, in the way people support each other through adversity. He sees the power of love to heal, to transform, and to uplift. He no longer views love as something that simply happens to him, but as something he actively participates in, something he can shape and direct with intention. Love becomes the lens through which he views his relationships, his career, and his life. He knows that every interaction is an opportunity to either reinforce or weaken the love that binds him to the people he cares about. This new perspective shapes his choices. He understands that love is not just about romantic relationships, it's about every relationship in his life. It's the bond he shares with his friends, his family, his colleagues. He recognizes that every relationship requires effort, care, and nurturing. Love is not something to be taken for granted, it's something to be cultivated. And so, he becomes intentional in his actions, making sure that he shows up, listens deeply, and gives more than he takes. He becomes a man who adds value to every relationship, a man who leaves people better than he found them. The depth of his love also leads him to a greater understanding of himself. As he learns to love others, he learns to love himself. He becomes more patient with his own flaws, more forgiving of his own mistakes, and more appreciative of his own growth. He understands that true love cannot exist without self-love. To love others fully, he must first love himself. And so, he begins to work on his own healing, his own growth, his own journey. He invests in his own well-being, knowing that in doing so, he can show up for others in the best way possible. This self-awareness brings him to a deeper realization that love is not just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the right person. It's about the journey of self-discovery, of continuously evolving into someone who is capable of loving deeply and fully. It's about healing from past wounds, shedding old beliefs, and breaking free from patterns that no longer serve him. Love requires him to do the internal work, to face his fears, his insecurities, and his doubts. He knows that in doing this work, he becomes more equipped to love the people in his life in the most profound way possible. But this journey of love is not always smooth. There will be moments of frustration, of doubt, and of heartbreak. There will be times when the effort feels overwhelming, when the road ahead seems unclear, when the weight of responsibility feels too heavy to carry. But the man who loves deeply knows this. Love is worth it. The challenges, the sacrifices, the discomfort, they are all part of the process. Love isn't easy, but it is always worth it. He knows that the most meaningful things in life rarely come without struggle. And so he persists. He continues to show up, to give, to love. Even when it's hard, even when he doubts, even when he feels weary, he knows that love is the force that will carry him through. It's in those moments of challenge that his love is tested, refined, and strengthened. And it is in those moments that he truly becomes the man he was meant to be. In the end, the man who understands love knows that it is the most powerful force in his life. It shapes his identity, it drives his actions, and it fuels his purpose. It is what transforms him from a man who seeks validation from the outside world into a man who finds fulfillment in the love he gives and receives. And as he continues on this journey, he understands that the more he loves, the more he becomes. The more he embraces love as his guiding force, the more he evolves into the man he is destined to be. And in this love, he finds not only his greatest joy, but his truest purpose. It's in the moments when he is tested, when everything feels like it could fall apart, that the true strength of love is revealed. Love is not something that is easy to maintain. It is not something that simply exists in the quiet moments or the blissful times. True love, real love, is forged in adversity. It is in those intense moments of struggle, when everything seems to be collapsing around him, that he finds the essence of what love can really be. It's in the face of adversity that he learns the depth of his own character and the strength of the bond he shares with another. At this point, the man who loves deeply recognizes that love is not a temporary feeling, a fleeting moment of joy. It is a lasting commitment. It's the willingness to fight for what matters, to protect the people he loves, and to endure whatever comes his way, no matter how difficult the road may seem. This commitment is what sets him apart. He understands that love is not just about how he feels when everything is going well, but about how he reacts when things go wrong. In these moments of challenge, he proves his worth. He stands firm. He doesn't run away from discomfort. He doesn't hide from the pain. Instead, he confronts it head-on, knowing that through every trial, his love will grow deeper, stronger, and more resilient. It's this kind of love that inspires others. It's the kind of love that is not just about words or gestures, but about action. Love is shown in what he does, not just what he says. It's in his consistency, his presence, his reliability. When he commits to someone, he does not back out. When he promises something, he delivers. His love is demonstrated not just in grand declarations, but in the small, everyday actions that reveal his devotion. Whether it's the way he listens intently to the struggles of his partner or the effort he puts into building a shared future, he understands that love is about showing up day after day, no matter what the circumstances. For a man who is willing to love fully, the world becomes a reflection of his inner strength. Every challenge he faces, every setback, is an opportunity to demonstrate the power of love. Through each setback, he learns not just about the resilience of his own heart, but also about the heart of the person he loves. They too are growing alongside him, learning to endure, to trust, to fight for the connection they've built. And in these moments, they are not only shaping their future together, but reinforcing a bond that is unbreakable. This is the power of love, the ability to lift you up even when you feel like you've hit rock bottom. It's the anchor that keeps you steady when everything around you feels uncertain. And as this man continues to embrace the fullness of love, he realizes that it requires him to constantly grow. Love demands his growth because it is not static. It evolves. The relationship does not remain the same, nor does his love. As he matures, so too does his ability to love more deeply, more selflessly. He becomes more attuned to the needs of those around him. He becomes more patient, more understanding, more capable of seeing the bigger picture. His love becomes an embodiment of empathy. He's able to see life through the eyes of others and understand their fears, their desires, and their pain. He moves beyond his own limitations and embraces the humanity in others, showing them love in ways that they might never have experienced before. This deepening of his love is mirrored in how he treats himself. As he learns to love others more fully, he recognizes the importance of self-love. He understands that in order to give, he must first be whole. He can't pour from an empty cup. He takes care of himself physically, mentally, and emotionally, not out of vanity or selfishness, but out of a deep respect for who he is and for those he loves. When he nurtures himself, he becomes better equipped to nurture those around him. He knows that self-care is not a luxury, but a necessity, for only when he values himself can he give others the love they deserve. The more he embraces this balanced love between himself and others, the more he sees the positive impact it has on his life. His relationships flourish. He draws in people who share his values, who mirror the respect and kindness he gives to the world. This energy radiates outward. His love becomes infectious, sparking others to love more deeply, to act with more compassion, to show up for the people they care about. As his love for others strengthens, so too does his sense of purpose and fulfillment. He realizes that his life has meaning far beyond his own desires. The love he shares creates a ripple effect, touching the lives of those around him, making the world a better place in ways he may never fully see but will always feel. Through all of this, the man who loves deeply becomes a beacon, a living example of what true love can achieve. His life is no longer defined by the pursuit of self-centered goals or superficial accomplishments. Instead, his success is measured by the relationships he builds, the love he gives, and the impact he has on those he cares about. Love becomes the driving force behind his every action. It shapes the way he navigates life. It becomes the lens through which he views every challenge, every triumph, every moment of joy. The more he embraces love, the more he sees how transformative it can be. It is not simply an emotion, it is the energy that powers his entire existence. Love is the force that propels him to become a better man, a better partner, and a better human being. It is through love that he finds meaning, purpose, and true fulfillment. It is through love that he finds strength in the face of adversity, joy in the simplest of moments, and peace even in the midst of chaos. The man who understands love recognizes this truth. Love is not just something he experiences. It is something he creates. It is something he gives and nurtures, and in doing so, it becomes the most powerful force in his life. With love, he builds a life that is rich, meaningful, and full of purpose. And in that love, he discovers not just the beauty of connection, but the deep, unshakable strength of his own soul. Love, in its most profound form, has the ability to transform not only the person who loves, but also the world around him. It's not just an internal shift. It's a force that extends outward, touching everyone in its path. This man, who has committed himself to love not just with his heart, but with his actions, understands this truth on a deep level. He sees love as more than just a fleeting emotion. It is his life's work, his purpose, and the very foundation upon which everything else rests. He knows that his ability to create a positive, lasting impact is directly tied to how he shows up for the people he cares about. In this journey of loving fully, he also learns the value of sacrifice. Love requires sacrifice, not in the sense of losing oneself, but in the sense of putting others' needs ahead of his own at times. It requires him to step outside of his own comfort zone, to give when it's hard, to support when he feels drained, and to hold space for others when they need him the most. These moments of sacrifice, though difficult in the moment, are where his character is truly built. They reveal his strength, his dedication, and his willingness to put the well-being of others above his own desires. It's in these acts of selflessness that he uncovers the most profound and purest form of love, the love that is without condition, without expectation, and without limits. But with this deep level of love, he also understands that it's not always about perfection. Love doesn't require perfection. It requires authenticity. He realizes that mistakes are part of the process, and flaws are not something to be ashamed of, but embraced. His love becomes stronger when he allows himself to be imperfect, to show his vulnerabilities, and to trust that his partner, his friends, and those around him will see him not for his flaws, but for the heart behind them. He stops hiding behind a facade, and in doing so, he finds the freedom to love without fear. In every imperfection, there is a deeper connection to be found. In every vulnerability, there is a greater understanding of the human experience. Through this process, his emotional resilience grows. He learns to weather the storms that come his way, knowing that love, in its truest form, is not a fair weather thing. It's a constant force, one that endures through trials and challenges, one that remains steady even when everything else is shaking. He faces moments of pain, loss, and disappointment, but through each experience, he is reminded of the transformative power of love. It's love that gives him the courage to rise up when he feels knocked down. It's love that ignites the passion in his soul to keep going when the path feels unclear. It's love that shows him that even in the darkest times, there is still hope. And this is the beauty of true love. It does not shy away from the hard parts of life. It embraces them. It recognizes that the most powerful and lasting connections are built through the shared struggles, the raw and real experiences that reveal the depth of who we are. It's in those moments of hardship that love is tested and ultimately proven. It's easy to love when things are going well, but the true measure of love comes when we are tested, when we are faced with challenges that force us to dig deeper, to be stronger, and to choose love no matter what. This understanding of love transforms him into someone who is not only a partner but also a leader. He leads with his heart, not just with his mind. His love is his guiding principle, and it influences every decision he makes, every action he takes. People are drawn to his strength, to the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who he is and what he stands for. His love becomes a model for others, an example of what it means to love deeply, to love selflessly, and to love with unwavering commitment. Those around him begin to see the impact of his love in their own lives. They are inspired by his example, and they are motivated to love more fully in their own relationships, in their own families, and in their own communities. It is in this cycle of giving and receiving love that he finds the greatest sense of fulfillment. He realizes that love is not a transactional exchange, but a constant flow of energy that enriches everyone involved. The more he gives, the more he receives, not necessarily in the form of material things, but in the form of deep, meaningful connections. His love is a gift, and every time he shares it, it comes back to him tenfold in the joy, peace, and fulfillment that fills his heart. It's in these moments that he realizes the truth. The more love he gives, the more abundant his life becomes. And with this abundance, his life becomes a reflection of the love he has chosen to give. His relationships flourish, not because they are perfect, but because they are real, authentic, and built on the foundation of deep emotional connection. He has learned that love isn't about avoiding difficulty. It's about embracing it, growing through it, and coming out stronger on the other side. This man has learned that love is not a destination, but a journey, one that continues to evolve, to deepen, and to expand. Through the lessons he has learned, through the struggles he has faced, and through the love he has given, he now stands as a living testament to the power of love. His journey is not just his own. It is a journey shared with everyone he loves. And it is a journey that continues to unfold with every new challenge, every new connection, and every new moment of growth. It is through love that he has found his greatest purpose, his greatest strength, and his greatest fulfillment. In his pursuit of love, he begins to understand that the most powerful and profound form of love comes from the inside out. It is not dependent on anyone else's actions or validation. It starts with him, and it is rooted in a deep understanding of himself. Self-love, in its truest form, becomes the cornerstone of his relationships. He realizes that before he can love anyone else fully, he must first love himself, with all his flaws, weaknesses, and imperfections. This love isn't born out of pride or vanity, but from a place of deep respect and acceptance for who he is, flaws and all. When he can look in the mirror and truly appreciate the person staring back at him, flaws and all, that is when his love for others begins to take on its full power. The power of self-love is not about being self-absorbed or narcissistic. Instead, it's about knowing his worth and standing firmly in it, regardless of external opinions or judgments. It's about recognizing that he is deserving of love, respect, and care, not because of what he does for others, but simply because he exists. He learns that he does not need to prove his worth through external accomplishments or validation. His worth is inherent, and this realization is both freeing and empowering. With this knowledge, he no longer seeks to find love as a way to fill an internal void, but rather to share the love that already resides within him. Self-love allows him to be more present in his relationships, more patient, and more compassionate. He no longer seeks to find validation from others because he already knows who he is. This newfound security in himself allows him to love others with more depth, more intention, and more authenticity. Instead of trying to change or control others to meet his needs, he becomes a person who offers love freely, without expectations or strings attached. This shift in mindset is a game changer. He no longer looks to his partner to complete him, because he knows that he is already whole. He is not seeking someone to fill an emotional gap, but rather to share an emotional bond built on mutual respect, trust, and care. In embracing self-love, he also begins to prioritize his own emotional well-being. He no longer compromises his mental and emotional health for the sake of pleasing others or fitting into a mold that does not serve him. He understands that taking care of himself is not selfish, it is essential for the health of his relationships. By taking the time to nurture his own mental, emotional, and physical health, he is better equipped to show up as the best version of himself for those he loves. This prioritization of self-care isn't just about taking time for himself in moments of solitude, though those moments are important. It's about maintaining healthy boundaries, setting clear expectations, and knowing when to say no. It's about protecting his peace and well-being, understanding that doing so ultimately benefits everyone in his life. This commitment to self-love and care empowers him to love with more clarity and purpose. No longer does he approach relationships from a place of need or desperation. Instead, he enters them with a sense of wholeness, knowing that love is not something that needs to be earned or fought for. It is something that is freely given and received when both people are truly themselves. This level of self-awareness and emotional maturity allows him to navigate the complexities of love without fear, without doubt, and without hesitation. The growth that he experiences through this journey transforms the way he interacts with the world. He no longer seeks to prove himself to others, because he has already proven his worth to himself. This shift in mindset allows him to be more genuine, more vulnerable, and more willing to let others see him for who he truly is. No longer does he feel the need to wear a mask or present a perfect version of himself. He understands that it is through his authenticity that true love can flourish. His confidence is not rooted in perfection, but in the courage to be real, to be vulnerable, and to show up fully without shame or fear. As he continues to embrace love, both for himself and for others, he also begins to see the importance of growth in his relationships. He no longer views love as a static experience. Instead, he understands that love is a continuous journey, one that requires effort, patience, and understanding. He learns that real love isn't about finding someone who fits perfectly into his life, but about finding someone with whom he can grow and evolve. He understands that, like him, the person he loves is on their own journey of growth and self-discovery. Together, they create a partnership that is built on mutual respect for each other's individuality, but also on a shared commitment to supporting each other's growth. In this partnership, he recognizes that love isn't always easy. It requires hard work, open communication, and sometimes difficult conversations. But he also knows that the challenges they face only serve to deepen their connection. Through the highs and lows, the joys and the struggles, their love grows stronger. They become each other's greatest support system, each other's biggest cheerleader, and each other's safe space. It's in these moments of vulnerability, of facing challenges together, that their bond strengthens. He also learns that love is not just about passion and romance. It's about respect, trust, and commitment. It's about being there for each other even when it's not convenient, even when the road gets tough. He knows that love is a choice, a daily choice to show up for each other, to honor each other, and to prioritize the relationship above all else. This commitment to the relationship is not something he takes lightly. It is a conscious decision that he makes every day, and it is what keeps the love alive, vibrant, and lasting. In the end, he realizes that love, in all its forms, is the ultimate source of fulfillment. It is what makes life worth living, what gives purpose to the everyday moments, and what brings true joy to the soul. Love is not just an emotion. It is the driving force behind everything he does, and it is the foundation upon which he builds his life. He has learned that when love is present, everything else falls into place. It is the compass that guides him, the fire that fuels him, and the reason he continues to move forward in his journey.